When we began, we were just a group of women who were solo artists. We didn't have a solo festival at that time in Los Angeles. The year before, the Women's Theater Festival, it's the oldest solo festival for women. It's in Philadelphia. They had come. They were at UCLA. I was one of their performers. I thought it was successful. We got great reviews. By the end of it, though, they said, this is not our cup of tea. LA is too schmoozy. It's too celebrity-driven. We're going back to Philadelphia. So when we met, I said, how about we pick up the torch where they left off, because they had brought it the year before. Let's not stop this. And so as a result, we have become the oldest solo festival for women in LA.
Wow. And what made you want to just do women?
There's enough work, I think, for men. Statistically, they have more work. Television, film, stage. I mean, it's just the truth. And we felt that we needed to make sure that we took care of ourselves as women, and that we were empowered, and that we have our own opportunities, and that we would not have to wait for the telephone to ring from an agent. We could actually do our stage work.
You have to have a path or a vision of something you want to do. You start with that, and that in any field. If you want to get into music, or you have to find what do you want to do? If you want to be a DJ, what kind of DJ? You have to find out what exactly, and then you can create your path. You have to have some education, maybe not paper education, but you have to know your craft. You think you're going to be a DJ, it ain't just, playing a couple of records. You got to know some technology, there's equipment involved, there's things to learn about how loud music is. I mean, there's a lot to learn, and that's just one aspect. You want to be a radio DJ, my God, you have to be well-read. You have to have an idea what's going on in the world. It's just so much you have to be prepared. You have to know how to show prep. Mm-hmm. And that if people are serious about a career and whatever they want to do, they just have to study it. Learn as much as possible. You got nothing else to do but to learn it. And that brings your confidence in to be able to do the job. You got to network and be nice to every person that you ever meet in your entire life, because you never, ever know who is the person that's going to help you when you need their help.
In theater, just like in Hollywood, in the film industry, it's male dominated, right? Majority of the playwrights and producers are male, so it's 80%. And so then I said, oh my God, we've been doing all this amazing work celebrating Latinos and women, but the majority of the directors are men. And it was something that I was blind to because, we had no budget. So for me, a lot of the people that I hired were friends who basically understood, look, you've got to work under ridiculous conditions and still do a great job. And then I said, oh my God, it's not enough that we tell women's stories. Women have to be a part of the creative process. And here I am, the artistic director, I can do something about it. But the very few women directors I knew, were Ivy League trained, and they charge a lot of money, and I couldn't afford them. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start a women's directing class, and I'm going to teach it, because I know how to direct. I don't direct because I'm busy doing everything else. I'm a producer, I'm an artistic director, I'm a mother, an activist, so that's why I don't direct. But I said, but I can teach women how to direct. And so I created this series where I invited all these male directors who I knew to come talk about their process. And then at the end I said, okay, now that we have these women, we need to get material that they can direct. It's like simple short stories to get their feet wet, And then there was a playwriting class that had all these amazing women playwrights. And there was one particular playwright who was an ex-chola from Venice. Her name is Lindsay Haley, who was a veterana, right? And I loved her play because it was about two cousins. One grew up, they both grew up in the barrio, but one left to the suburbs and tried to acculturate and pass for white and basically try to have an easy life. And the other one was stay true to her roots and was in the hood. And they had some kind of breakup because there was some kind of drive-by. They basically put one of the sons in prison and the other one got blamed. A very complicated story, But I said, oh my God, this is an amazing story. We need to tell it because it really serves the mission of this theater. So then we said, okay, I had written so much material that I said, okay, do this. And then we basically scrambled for material. We did the first presentation. It was very successful. And then we said, but wait a minute, we should have a workshop now where we have these women directors work with the playwrights or can also write their own material. So we started this program to mentor Latinas to write, direct, and produce. And we did it again, and it was very successful because as soon as you tell one woman, oh my God, you empower her. Yeah, she basically tells her story. She invites her family, and her community comes, and it becomes a celebration of these women telling their stories. So we would sell out, and we're like, oh my God, wow, we sold out. So we've done it for 6 years now, and it's our most successful production because women bring their community.
People started having T-shirts of her that would say, Shirley Chisholm made Obama as well as Hillary Clinton possible. Their runs, So, and I remember in one of the interviews that she has, she goes, essentially that they may laugh when they see me run, because people are like, you're not going to win, Shirley White. She goes, they may laugh now, but they won't laugh the next time that there's a woman or a person of color running, because they can see that it can be done. And it's so powerful that she stood there knowing that with the slings and arrows that were coming at her, and she just stood her ground and with a knowing my place in history right here, right now. That, and so it gives me chills. These women give me chills.
It was called Facing Santa Fe Plaza, the play. When he gave it to me like 25 years ago, I said, Javi, it's like a film. And he said, really? And I said, yeah, it's like a short film. And I put it away. I never thought in my life I was ever going to either produce or direct a film. And then,
you pulled it out.
Por eso, when this came up, I went like, I know what I want to do. That play is the film. Because I wanted to showcase two Latinas, middle-aged women, with sensuality, with sophistication, with language. In spite of the fact that you have an accent, doesn't mean that you don't have, on the contrary, it means you know two languages. I had Ofelia Medina, it's an incredible Mexican actress, like international Mexican actress, to play the other part. And so we played these two women who are married to these professors in Harvard, and they fall in love with each other. But you don't know that. I gave it away until the end of the movie, that is the first day that they are together alone, and they've left their husbands to pursue a new life. The other one that I want to do is Adoration of the Old Woman, which was a play that Jose Rivera wrote with me in mind, and I play a 105-year-old that I already did, and I got the awards from San Diego Critic Circle. I want to do that movie because it's about this nationalist Puerto Rican woman, and it's about this younger generation Puerto Rican girl that comes from New York to live with her bisabuela, and how she discovers her Puerto Rican identity. It's a very beautiful play that I intend to make into a film. I want to leave that legacy to my country, just a Puerto Rican icon that can inspire other generations and other females in Puerto Rico.
So Self-Help Graphics is an amazing cultural arts organization. It's the only one of its kind in the United States that does as much as it does, along with Galeria de la Raza in San Francisco, which no longer exists because it lost its funding, it lost its property. Self-Help Graphics has managed to buy its property, so it's been really a feat. They were the birthplace of the celebration of Day of the Dead publicly in actually the U.S., or at least the Western U.S. And they had a celebration of the Day of the Dead after the East LA riots of August 28, 1970, or August 29th, 1970, when Ruben Salazar was murdered. It was the protest against the war in Southeast Asia, and there was a huge riot, and a few people were killed. And so the community at the time really, really was destroyed. There was a lot of unity in the community, and that was destroyed. So what Self-Help Graphics did under the guidance of Sister Karen Bocalero and a few other artists, they came together and they decided, well, we're gonna try and return that unity to our community, and we're going to do it not celebrating lost lives at war. We're not going to do it by a protest. We're going to do it through art, and we're going to do it through a cultural celebration that is really important to us, and that's Day of the Dead. That way we can honor our dead, whether they died during the riots or they died as soldiers in Vietnam, or even just in our families. We're going to honor our dead. We're going to go back to our roots. We're going to recognize who we are. recapture our cultural identity and then own it and create a community in that celebration. And that's what happened. That was in 1972. So it was about a year and a half after that riot. And it's been going strong. It went strong really quickly. Everybody grabbed onto it, but then in the 1980s it faltered. There were very few people actually taking a vested interest in creating or doing the work for the celebration, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get the art and do the celebration in the way it's supposed to. It's very easy to say, oh, it's like Halloween, and it's not. So I brought it back. I brought it back in 1989. I asked Sister Karen at the time if I could do a Day of the Dead celebration, and that's what happened. So from like late 1970s to 1988 was the last show that they had that wasn't Day of the Dead.
My show was born in 2004. Around I was living in New York City, and I had just found my father in Honolulu. George Bush and Congress were considering invading Iraq, and people in New York were protesting about no war. And I felt like at that moment when I had discovered my father, a Vietnam vet, how his life had been destroyed, and how my own personal life was really coming to a head with things from my past, I had no choice but to tell the story. Because when I was like, look, I didn't create the conflict in Vietnam. I did not create racism, the reasons why my family are all torn apart. I felt like if I didn't tell the story, I was going to implode. And I very naive, thinking, if I tell the story, maybe people will think twice before going to war. I had those feelings all at the same time, and within 2 months I took this Cheryl King's solo writing workshop. And what was great about the workshop was I had already started writing the piece. It was coming out, like I was dying. Like if I didn't write this shit and get it out, I was gonna die or explode one. And so every week we would put something up in front of audiences, pieces of it, which was great. So I got that cathartic experience, but I also got to see in that moment what was gonna work in a scene and what would not. And within a few months, it didn't take long for this piece, because again, it was like a long time coming, and it was up within 3 months.